Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. So, before I get into this video, I need you to understand that I saw a wasp in the kitchen and I lost it. And so I'm extremely paranoid. And to be honest, that has been like a weird thing that's been going on where I've been a little bit paranoid anyways. I think due to my dopamine normalizing. So of course this happens tonight as I'm trying to film and I'm like really gonna be tripping. I told you guys I'm in my special interest era. I get fascinated with everything all the time. And like I said, I get a little paranoid from every now and then. So now I have a wasp to be paranoid about. So if I see something, it might get violent up in here. I'm not one of those that's like a sweet girly pop like that. I don't mess around. There was a roach in here one day. It was gone. I'm letting you know. So I'm going to try to gaslight myself into believing that it's no longer here. But if I see something, I'm going to like freak and you guys might see that. So yeah. That was a very long disclaimer, but what does this mean? This means it's summertime. Maybe it's a little bit of a summertime sadness, but not really. I think I had most of my summertime sadness in July. I just feel summertime paranoid now. I'm just kidding. I'm serious. I'm going to crash out over this freaking... I'm so paranoid. I have it here. I'm not fucking around. I will freak. Okay, I need to stop. You see how fixated I get? Do you see? It is summer. That's the point. There's been bugs in here. It's summer in the South. And here in these parts, there is some bugs. It's wild. So the bugs are wild. I'm low-key looking forward to autumn just because of the bugs calming down because it's been to a level that I'm not able to handle. Like I'm hitting a little bit of breaking point after today. There were 2 wasps in here. I think we got a mop. We got a wasp nest out there, I think, and I am paranoid as hell. So, and we had a leaky roof this year for the summer storms. So we've had a good time. Had a great time. Having a great time this summer. Okay, that's enough tea. That's enough living situation tea. I thought we'd enter the age of body positivity. Then came shrinking girl summer. Is everyone getting smaller except me? I don't know. To me, it seems like the threats are getting bigger. The bugs are getting bigger. No, I'm just kidding. And by the way, it was a huge roach, too. It was huge. I never told my mom that, but it was huge. It was a huge one. And I don't know what is the thing, but I go into like, I want to say it's like a flight or fight, but I'm a fight. I fight it. I don't know. Because I'm I'm going to have to look into the spiritual significance of wasps. I'm so weird. You can see, this is a different phase for me. I'm in a weird phase. But I'm like, I need to look up the significance of wasps now. What does it mean? I can't even focus. Okay. Let's continue. Sorry. Let's start. It's been the year of weight loss drugs, with celebrities seemingly disappearing before our eyes. For those of us left behind, it's both a torment and a temptation. Spoiler alert, I tried the jabs too. It is a balmy evening in early July. I've finally managed to get both of my small children to sleep, and I am engaging in what has become a new and unhealthy ritual. Scrolling through Instagram and trying to work out which of the people behind accounts I once followed for their body positivity content are now taking weight loss drugs. That's very obsessive. Not that I can judge. Oh my gosh. I take a break from scrolling to pinch layers of fat between my thumb and middle finger. Thumb and middle finger? What? Oh, this. Willing them, as I have since I was a child, to disappear. I'm not going to lie, my hands and wrists are kind of snatched now. It's giving snatched. I'm happy about that. Anyways. My fingertips trace the folds of skin that have appeared between my hips and ribs. Since my youngest son was born last summer. Hips and ribs. And then over the raised red zigzags that have emerged all over my tummy since I began growing children in 2021. That was a weird way to say that, but okay. It's giving like, you see, I'm a little bit too, I don't know what's going on with me. I'm a little too sci-fi girly pop. Like it was giving, like, you're like, I don't even know. I can't even talk right now. Oh my gosh. It was giving like you're reproducing by like budding or something. Like, I don't know, like a plant. It was weird. It was weird. Okay? Okay. By the time my partner has made his way up to our room, I am sobbing. His face bears the slightly pained but loving expression of someone who has seen this all before. Without a word, he draws me in for a hug before taking the phone from me. I say between sobs. He nods as I finish my sentence. Wish it were me. Honey, it can be you. So, do you actually wish it or not? Because it can. Because I was the one that was like, it's never going to happen for me. I don't even think it's possible, blah, blah. Like, if I could go back in time and talk to myself, especially from like 2012, I would tell you, I don't know if it's actually possible. Like, I think I would have said it was possible, but I would have been like, I don't know. Which I know that that's really weird for people to like hear. I think that shocked some of you guys the first time I said it, but it's true. But I was in the toxic ritualistic, so you don't actually think it's possible, which is evidenced by her right now. You know, she doesn't think it's possible for her. You'd be forgiven for finding this melodramatic, but at 37, I can count on one hand the years I've spent free from anxiety about the shape and size of my body. In 2 of them, I spent pregnant. The rest of my time on the planet has involved either outright hating my body or, more recently, in the shadow of the body positivity movement, trying to accept and maybe even love it. But something is changing. Gone are the days when there was a deluge of messaging that told us to love our bodies no matter their size. When brands were falling over themselves in the who can shout self-love the loudest Olympics. Gosh, it is so bizarre to me how, like, do you think, like, they were even that comforted by the corporations and stuff? Because, like, I don't understand that. Like, look, I'm a Swiftie, you guys know, but I find it incredibly cringe when all of the corporations are, like, trying to be Swifties, too. And I don't think it helps Taylor because she was already, like, people were having, like, oversaturation issues with Taylor, and she didn't really take that long of a break. And so, like, companies doing all that, I'm like, ooh, like, it puts pressure towards a cancellation, basically, in a way. And so as a Swiftie, I'm like, ooh, like, I'm a little worried. But again, as my dopamine normalizes, I'm, like, the tiniest bit paranoid. So I even get paranoid for Taylor a little bit. But I'm like, I don't like it. Like, as a Swiftie, I don't feel comforted by brands doing that. Like, it's just about money. It's not personal. It's not like they're actually caring about me. And it's like, does that actually work on people? Does it? Don't mind me. I just have to, like, check to see if I can see anything going on. Yeah, okay. When Vogue, once a shrine to the skinny, declared 3 plus-size women were the new supers and plastered them on the cover. Instead, in a change I'd never believed possible just 2 years ago, we have somehow been thrust back into a naughties-level skinny worship culture that is bringing up the same feelings I've been running from since I was a girl. Well, honey, it's because millennials had our moment. And honestly, it kind of flopped. So it's done. You know, it's a moment in time. Which, obviously, it didn't help anything. Let's be so real. Because I think everything just got worse, basically. And as far as I'm aware of, like, fat activists were the least happy ever towards 2019. Super unhappy throughout 2020, super unhappy throughout 2021, super unhappy throughout 2022, super unhappy throughout 2023, and now you're still super unhappy. So it's like, I think that they're kind of romanticizing the past, or like they're thinking about it in this weird way. But I think the only thing that I can give perspective on as like somebody who's reading this and dissecting this is that it kind of shows the toxic ritualistic, like, in the sense that it doesn't matter. Nothing, you can never win. Like, the people that have this issue, they're always going to be upset. They're always going to compare it to something, or they're always going to compare. It's like you're always going to find a reason to be upset, basically. It doesn't matter. And so this is the new thing. Whereas there were plenty of reasons to be upset in the 2010s, there were plenty of reasons to be upset in the 2020s. There's plenty of reasons to be upset prior to that, like, you know, in terms of like body image stuff. Like, it just never ends. You'll always find something. And so I don't know if this article is to like try to shame people or something. Which is interesting because I asked you guys in a post, like, if you felt like some aspects of body positivity or fat acceptance specifically, like, I asked if it was like entirely introvert cringe, because already this article is giving like needs to touch grass energy. And I feel like this writer has introvert cringe all over them. But one of you guys said, actually, no, you're like, I think it has more to do with narcissism. And I'm like, that's interesting. So I'm thinking about it. I don't think that everybody that's in this is narcissistic. I think that maybe there are certain narcissistic traits going on with this whole thing. Because a lot of times people can have traits, but they're not actually a narcissist. And I wonder if that's something where like they're leaning into those traits a lot, because it's just kind of weird. It's like, I don't know. It's odd. This is odd. You know? I think too, the further I get from it, the weirder it becomes to me, which I feel like there was a time when I would have cared about this. But I think by the time all this stuff was happening, I was aware of the problem I had. So it didn't hold as much weight anymore. Because I developed an awareness in 2014. But I wonder if I would have really cared about this if it was going on like 2010, you know? It's an interesting thought exercise, and it's very like what ify and slight introvert cringe myself, but I told you guys I've been feeling more introverted than ever lately. So We're gonna have to go with it, okay? My favorite game is the what if game, okay? It's kind of cringe. It's kind of cringe. I'm sorry. Let's keep going. But something is changing. Gone are the days where that. Okay. If first there was hot girl summer, then brat summer, I reckon we are now living through shrinking girl summer. I say this with no judgment or malice, but simply to hold up a mirror to a pervasive trend. Quietly, everyone seems to have been getting smaller and smaller. I don't know if that's necessarily true. It might be perception. I'd be so interested to see. I do think there might have been like a slight downward trend in obesity. I really need to look at statistics. Maybe I should look now. Hold on a second. Okay, so I need to find one that's more recent, if I can. This is up to August 2023, which I was still severely obese in August of 2023. But look, throughout 2023, or the 2020s, supermorbid obesity actually upticked. But I guess regular obesity, it slightly went down, but then they were saying it's still higher than 10 years ago. So, oh, you guys can't even see my mouse. Oh my gosh. So, this is 2023 supermorbid obesity. It's 40% in 2023. But still in 2013, it was 37% was obese. Supermorbid, 2013, it was 7%, and now it's 9.7. So 7.7 went up 2%. That's really bad. So I don't know about this, like everyone's shrinking. Let me try to find something in 2025. Let me try. Okay, so this one was published in 2025 in February. So I think we're going to have to wait for statistics for 2025 for next year. But if we look at 2024, obesity, you can see the lines here. It kind of stabilized, or it is no longer increasing. But if we look at it from 2010, which this chart goes back to 2010, obesity still is up quite a bit. So obesity is up from 39.7% in 2010 to 45% in 2024. That's still drastically higher. If we look at overweight people, I guess it went slightly down. So 31% in 2010 to 30% in 2024. So, okay. Healthy weight individuals, it went down 27%, 27.7 to 23.2. So we have lost healthy weight people from 2010 till 2024. And severely obese, so like super morbid, etc. They say BMI of 40 plus. It went up from 8.5% to 10.3%, which is a drastic increase. So I feel like people who especially are toxically ritualistic, they have gotten worse over the time. If we look at underweight, it went from 1.6 to 1.5, so it's pretty stable or pretty much the same within underweight. But what does this mean? It means that some people who were healthy weight, they became obese, or everybody kind of shifted up, basically. And supermorbid obesity, it went up a lot, in that time frame, which it's not easy to get that big. It's not. So I don't know about everybody shrinking summer. I don't know. We're going to have to see how things went. I know for this chart, I can say I wasn't here in 2024. I don't think so. That's interesting. So I went from this to this, I became a part of the 45% in 2024. I'm not anymore, though. I'm not. Okay, let's go back. Okay. For Alex Light, is this another? I don't think this is. Okay, I don't think this is another British article. I don't think so. Hold on, let me check this. I'm getting so weird right now. Just, you have to deal with me. I'm sorry. Okay, no, this is American. But see, I just wonder, like, why there's so much push of it being in the UK. Like, am I just crazy? Am I just seeing this? Like, do you guys see this too? I just find it so weird. It's so not real. I just don't find it to be real. Okay. For Alex Light, a British body positive influencer, things had started to change even before the arrival on the mass market in the UK and US of GLP-1 inhibitor drugs used exclusively via prescription for weight loss. Before this, they were used mainly to treat symptoms of type 2 diabetes, including obesity. For a while, there were subtle signs, Light says, fewer size-inclusive launches, less campaign imagery, more brands quietly reducing size ranges, and a shift in which kinds of bodies were getting visibility and praise. But weight loss drugs have made this shift impossible to ignore. So I always find it interesting too, because when you are an activist, you have to, at the very least, you have to be aware of the moment. You have to be aware of where people are at. It doesn't mean that you have to make a statement on every single issue, right? Or you don't have to, like, you can still, I'm very focused on this channel. I'm not like, I don't talk about every single thing going on in the world, but I'm aware of what's going on in the world. So what does that look like? It looks like being able to look at the past few years and understand why brands may have started to do this. It's because the economy has been not doing well globally throughout the past few years, primarily due to the panini and the after effects of that, and inflation and these types of things, particularly in 2022, which also hit the cost of food, which also made fat acceptance rhetoric kind of ridiculous to a lot of people when it already was ridiculous, but it became even more so, which this is all related. So again, yes, you should know the moment, but know how the moment is affecting your cause or affecting your topic, your niche, so to speak. That's what I always try to do. So I understand brands probably had fewer sizes because they weren't selling and they didn't have any excess anymore. That's very likely what was happening throughout the years. But we're just supposed to pretend that that didn't exist, and it's all just to hurt people's feelings because brands are our best friends or something. I don't get it. I do not get it. The signs are everywhere. Dozens of A-list women who were once intentionally or not symbols of what it means to rebel against diet culture are now changing shape dramatically. First Adele, then Rebel Wilson, Lizzo, Meghan Trainor, Kelly Clarkson, Serena Williams, Mindy Kaling, and although some of these attribute their weight loss to strict diet and exercise, others are openly using the jabs. Plenty of once overweight A-listers have been explicit about how much they benefited from using the jabs, with Robbie Williams calling them a Christmas miracle in a 2023 interview. Others, such as Queer Eye's Jonathan Van Ness and Oprah Winfrey, have spoken openly about their use, not, they say, in the pursuit of skinniness, but to get to what they feel is a healthier, more comfortable weight. So I think what's important to understand, too, is that there's probably, in my opinion, there's probably a lot of money involved in promoting these drugs, I think, personally, which is also something that somebody should look at. I'm pretty sure that the creators, I think it's, oh my gosh, I'm such a flop. I feel so horrible right now. Like, I feel so stupid that I don't know who created it. I don't know if it's Novo Nordisk. If it's not, then I'm a huge flop, and I'm so sorry. But I'm pretty sure that that company, whatever company is behind Ozempic or GLP-1s or whatever, whoever has the patent, they're doing very, very well financially. So they're able to really push for advertising and these kind of things. And it's getting onto insurances and all this stuff. It's kind of booming. It's having a moment. There's been other moments where drugs have been booming in the past, some of which, you know, it didn't go very well, especially if we're talking about like the 2000s. I hope it doesn't get bad like that, but I'm just saying it's not always a good thing. And I still think that miracle drug claims and all this stuff, it needs to be held with a sense of scrutiny and skepticism because, you know, you don't want to have another moment like the 2000s. I'm not going to mention it because I don't know if YouTube's going to be all upset about it. But I'm just saying you don't want to have something like that where it's bad. So I think that people are just promoting it in general. A lot of people are having good results with it. A lot of people like it. A lot of people have gotten healthier from it. A lot of people have, you know, it's made it feel more attainable than it was in the past type of vibe. And so people talk about it. That's where you have a lot of people that talk about it that aren't making money from it online. And then you also have people who, again, you know, I think Anna O'Brien, I believe she had some kind of a brand. Oh my God, the wasp. Oh my God, I'm going to die. Oh my God, I'm going to die. Oh my God, hold on. Okay, you guys, I'm still here. If I see a third one, just consider me undead at that point. Okay? Okay. Where were we? Okay. I'm so sorry. Oh, I think I read that. Okay. For the first time in my life, I was able to believe that despite my inability to be thin, I was deserving of love. Given this is such a personal and emotive subject for many, it is obvious the reasons for using these drugs to slim down aren't always black and white. But it is also clear that there's a gray area between feeling fat and being fat, and with stories of already slim fashion editors queuing up to microdose the drugs in the run-up to the fashion week, and celebrities using them to maintain skinny physiques, it's almost impossible to find an exit to the moral maze of who should use them and how. You know, honestly, for me, I just don't think about it that much, which I know that that's like a very radical thing to say, but I don't. I never think about these drugs unless if I'm covering this stuff. And I think that that should be more normalized. I feel like a lot of people, again, they use these drugs as a weapon. They use these drugs. They obsess over them. I just don't think about it very much, to be honest. I think it's up to everybody to use it responsibly. And that's basically the facts. So I don't think it should be used on kids or teenagers or anything like that. I think that's crazy. But other than that, you know, it's basically where I'm at. Okay. What is increasingly evident? I think that they focus so much on the drugs too because within the toxic ritualistic, they want to push this idea that it's only because of the drugs that this is changing, which I don't think so. I just don't. You know, I can, call me an anecdote, call me a sample size of one, sure. But let me know in the comments, did your views, like let's say you used to be fat and you were okay with it for a while until you weren't. Were the drugs anything to do with your decision? Let me know. I need to know. If they were, if they weren't. For me personally, The drugs had nothing to do with my decision. They had nothing to do with my shift in perspective. They had nothing to do with any of the downsizing that I've accomplished. It had literally nothing. It was not a single aspect of my thought process, my action, my anything. My decision to be an activist, none of it had anything to do with the drugs. So I just feel like they push it so hard because they want to believe that it was still impossible before the drugs, even though it wasn't. And they just lean on that so hard. It's like, I don't know. It's bizarre to me personally. It's very bizarre. But I do think it is a toxic ritualistic thing to be this obsessed with them. That's all I'm trying to say. And who's using it and who's not and all this stuff. Like, I just don't think that that's healthy at all. Okay. What is increasingly evident is that the lessons we've been taught in the past 10 years, you can be healthy in a bigger body, that was always false, especially depending on how big. And some bodies are genetically meant to be bigger, that's only within very narrow ranges, are being replaced with the old-fashioned idea that health equates with thinness. Over on TikTok, the Skinny Talk hashtag on content praising thinness and blank in the pursuit of it was banned in June because of its a surge in its popularity and glamorization of blank, coupled with the return of a familiar prejudice that fat people are just lazy and greedy. This didn't go away. I heard fat activists bitching about this forever. So what do you guys think is going on with this current narrative that they're pushing? Like, you know, I talked about the historical revisionism in the last article I covered. Like, this is the same thing happening again. Like, why is there this weird article push right now that we were so good last year or 2 years ago or whatever, and now we're so bad now? Like, what is this? Like, it never changed. Some of these things never changed. Like, there was I told you guys, I was gonna, I was not completely set on what activism I was gonna do. I was trying to figure out my life path once I knew I was gonna survive from my health crisis, basically, in 2022. That was the year that I knew I was gonna make it. And so I was trying to find purpose a lot that year. And I juggled through a lot of different ideas at the time. I kind of just threw everything at the wall. And I wasn't sure what I wanted to focus on. And towards the end of the year, I decided to focus on this, which I think it was the best decision. I think it was correct. I have zero regrets. I'm so happy with what I've done and with what I decided to do. But part of it was because I saw that the hatred of fat people was getting so bad, particularly because of fat acceptance TikTok. Like, it was surging over the panini and some of the stuff that a lot of these women honestly were saying during 2020, 2021, 2022. It was just crazy. It was crazy. That's where a lot of anti-FA YouTubers started, is during those years, because it was wild what they were saying. And it was making people hate fat people. And I was like, holy shit. So I was like, I need to say something. So I got on here when I was still a smo. And I was like, not every fat person believes this. And I started making talking points and stuff. And I started to, I took it on because I was like, this is going to get really bad. And it was that bad. And this is supposedly in like the golden time period. And I'm like, I don't see that at all. So I don't think that the corporate push and all this stuff, I don't think it did anything good. I think that they just existed on TikTok or something, or like they're only watching TikTok during the panini years. And so they, now that trends have shifted on TikTok specifically, now everything's different now. And it's like, well, I still lived in the real world throughout the panini. Like, I still saw how things were going. I looked at the whole picture. And again, it's very obvious to me that the panini gave a huge reality check in terms of obesity. It was a huge part of why it was so bad here in the US. And that left a lasting impression. That type of thing is not just going to go away. It's, and it was a huge part of my awakening, was realizing how bad of a position I had put myself in, because I had spent years and years thinking, I'll figure it out later. I got to get my life together. I'll lose the weight later. I got to do this. I'll do it later. I can do it when I'm older. I can do it when I'm older. I can do it. Then this panini happens, and oh shit, I didn't actually take care of my health the way I needed to. And now I'm in danger because of choices I made. And it was one hell of a reality check. And I cannot be the only person in the country that had that feeling. I just can't. And it's like, come on. As a perennially plus-size woman, I'm happy for anyone who manages to lose weight and keep it off. But yes, I am also consumed with the furious jealousy. It's toxic ritualistic, because I wish it were me. And it almost was, because I am not simply an observer of this sudden collective sprint towards thinness, but someone who actively tried to participate in it. Reader, I took the drugs too. Okay. There are other ways, though, if it didn't work. My experience of being bigger than I ought to be started as a child. I cannot say for sure when I was first made aware of my problem, but by the age of 10, I could confidently tell you how many calories were in a slice of Hovey's versus Sainsbury's own bread, and was a whiz at inputting my school dinners into the Weight Watchers calculator I carried around in my pocket. My memory is hazy about precisely when the weight loss conversation was first opened with me, but I know it has never been closed. The word conversation is a stretch, given it is generally traveled in one direction only, toward me. So, a lot of times people have an obsession within the toxic ritualistic as well, where they don't want to actually solve the issue, because then the conversation has to end. And that can be scarier, especially for someone like her. She's 37 years old. She's been doing this forever. She's going to continue to do it. And she'd have to totally give up this entire way of viewing things. She'd have to go through a tortured era. She'd have to go through a lot to get out. And I don't know if she's willing to do the mental work. I don't know if she's willing to white knuckle it. I don't know if she's willing to completely change everything in her lifestyle, because it is a lot to maintain supermorbid obesity. And if she's not willing to acknowledge that fact, then she's not living in reality. And in order to stop it, you have to change your life dramatically at that stage. I mean, it's a lot. Her whole life is centered around this. That's hard to let go of. It's very hard. And I understand how hard it is. But you have to do it, or it will cause an untimely death. It will cause problems. And she's getting to that age where it does hit women too. 37, It's tough. It takes longer as a woman. So even if your body can technically handle it physically at an older age, it takes longer to downsize. And that needs to be made clear. So you should still start younger, because you need to get it managed in the years that it will take, typically. So you don't want to be on death's door. You may not make it out if you wait that long. For me, it's faster to decline, faster to get back out. But it's still, I changed my lifestyle in 2021. It's now 2025. I'm still not even done with the main downsizing. It takes time. It really does. Okay. The usual protocol is me receiving opinions about my body from people who, in either a personal or professional capacity, ask if I've ever considered losing weight before gently suggesting I might want to, or demanding I do. This will come with the recommendations to try this one thing this thin person determines is the reason for their svelte physique, never admitting their genes might have something to do with it. That's toxic ritualistic bullshit. And my role in this little dance has been to swallow the shame I feel about my body. The shame is toxic ritualistic. I'm just going to point through everything, while apologizing for the awkwardness of my size. The awkwardness my size seems to present for everyone else. And so the explosion of the so-called body positivity movement on our social media feeds, fashion websites, catwalks, and deodorant adverts worldwide came as a shock to me. Yeah, and it encouraged you to waste your time. Having spent my whole life trying to be or stay thin, its messaging was at odds with my internal programming. While it felt amazing to see someone like Tess Holliday on the cover of Cosmo and curvier mannequins in Nike's flagship Oxford Street store, it also felt at times like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. I wasn't surprised to witness fatness become the latest target of the right-wing press's war on wokeness, or explicit fat phobia normalized by columnists debating what they saw as the glorification of ill health. This has always fascinated me because this is something she's interestingly forgetting, but throughout the noughties era, it was the right that was more fat acceptancy. So I just find it strange how much it shifted, how it completely inverted. And I am kind of surprised at that as a millennial. I'm sure all of us that are not weirdly revising history are shocked. And you still see vestiges of like left-wing fitness, like in California, for example, like when I visited. It's not, there's a lot of fat people in California, but it's not seen as political, I guess, for the most part, to be fit. It's seen as expected, basically. So it's still bizarre to me how, I don't know, that's just something I don't even get. I don't get it. I'll have to look into that too. I'm going to have to look into everything. Every time I read these, I'm like, I'm going to have to research this. I'm going to have to research this. I'm going to have to research this. I get so inspired when I read these. Okay, anyways. And while I love the idea of appreciating your body regardless of its shape or size, I also knew deep down that I would probably never be able to do so myself. Nonetheless, I gave it a good go. I wrote fat positive pieces, so she lied the whole time. Okay? Shared posts on Instagram with body positivity hashtags and enjoyed the availability of bigger clothes and brands I had longed to wear. Valentino, D&G, Yanni, Reformation. I fell in love with the fat influencer's biggest beautiful message. I love seeing people celebrating their bodies, especially their perceived flaws. I even wondered whether I had actually managed to love my body in its overweight and later clinically obese state. But this illusion of acceptance would always unravel at the merest perceived criticism from online trolls or well-meaning people in my life trying to help solve something I'd never identified to them as a problem. This is interesting too. So she gained. So it did lead to weight gain. I'm going to point that out. So fat positivity leads to weight gain. A few things did change for the better for me. Where my once internalized fat phobia had prevented me from believing fat people could be attractive, now seeing gorgeous, curvy women in ads and on catwalks stretched my own definition of beauty to include people in bigger bodies. Okay. Another is that I fell in love with exercise once it stopped being something gatekept by the skinny and muscular. I think this was a positive outcome for sure. I've told you guys a lot. There were these very strict social roles around fatness prior to this era. And one of them was exercise, where it was like seen as crazy if a fat person exercised. I remember that. I do remember, the early 2010s when I tried. It was weird. And just overall, I think it was, I wonder if it was a toxic ritualistic reinforcement where people didn't want people to exercise that were fat. Like, it was weird. But let me know if any of you guys experienced that. I know I did. Let me know. Once it stopped being something get kept by the skinny and muscular, with special admission granted for fat people only if they were explicitly trying to become thin. Instead, it became much more common to see women above a size 8 enjoy exercise for the sake of exercise, in my case, kickboxing, running, and swimming. The last big shift was that, for the first time in my life, I was able to believe that, despite my inability to toxic ritualistic, I was deserving of real and unconditional love, which allowed me to crack open a little door just enough to let a person enter who would become my husband and the father of my children. I am much more able to accept my body's appearance than I ever was before I met him. Okay, so that kind of stuff freaks me out too, just because, like, would she have wanted her husband if she wasn't toxically ritualistic, if she wasn't in a super morbidly obese state and all that stuff? And if she were to lose it, would things change? That's just a crazy question I have in my mind. I told you I'm in, like, my what if game, like, dark, I don't know, thought process vibe. But it's like, I feel like my tastes are more similar to when I was younger now. And I get really freaked out about that. And I feel like that was an aspect of my tortured era, was being confused about the type of guys that I'm attracted to. It was very odd. And I think some of it had to do with literal hormonal problems. Maybe some of it had to do with what I felt was available to me. I don't know. But as a male, like, having that shift, it is so bizarre to me, especially it happening as an adult. It's so bizarre. It disturbs me. But it does comfort me that I'm more similar to when I was younger. So I'm like, that probably was more so me, rather than when I was deeply in the toxic ritualistic or deeply hypo, super, super ill. But it's disturbing. It disturbs me sometimes that happens. So when she says that, I wonder if that would happen to her. Because I wonder if it's based on all that stuff, I just wonder. That's just a question. I'm not saying anything. That I just have questions because of my experience with it, which maybe that's not everybody's experience. I totally get it. It's super weird to me, though. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Okay, when GLP-1 inhibitors first came along, I instinctively felt afraid, toxic ritualistic, and curious. Afraid because when Meghan Trainor was singing about how it's all about that bass and Lizzo was casting only plus-size dancers for her tours, I'd allowed myself to imagine a future in which the issue of weight wouldn't be such a big deal. Oh, honey, it can be if you get out of the toxic ritualistic. Curious because, well, I wondered if the drugs could help me. I was out there spreading the good word of self-acceptance, too, but if I had the chance to be thin, I'd say yes every time. So many in this movement are like this. After having my second baby last summer, I gained weight. I was exhausted, moving less, eating more, and I felt out of control. So an article started appearing around Christmas about how easy the injections were, how much weight you could lose, and how few side effects they produced. An idea started to form in my mind. Maybe they could be the thing that slammed the door shut on conversations about my weight once and for all. That's not a great reason. And cut out the dreaded food noise and your constant barrage of thoughts. Honey, in your case, it's probably the toxic ritualistic. That's what I will call it for you. And your constant barrage of thoughts about food, you fall by the letter D. Even when not physically hungry, you fall by the letter D. That had an excessive grip on my psyche. It still does, honey. Takes a little bit. You have to stop yourself from doing it. You have to force yourself to stop. That's what I did, and I didn't take a shot. So you have to tell yourself, I'm not going to think about this anymore, and you break the habit. But a lot of people, they don't think they can break the habit, or they don't think they have power over their thoughts. You do. You really do. That's the whole reason you are in this E fall by letter D anyways, because the mind is powerful. Anyways, the idea of removing that from my life wasn't just tantalizing, but almost unthinkable. Toxic ritualistic. Imagine what I could do with all that extra brain space. Honey, it is wild, I will tell you, because I really do have extra brain space now, and it was part of my tortured era. I was like, I don't know what to do. I was very listless, but now I've adjusted, and I'm just like, period, and I'm happy with it. So it is what it is. You just develop other goals. You think about other things. I feel closer to other people in my life. Like I spend a lot more time thinking about other people. I think a lot more about, for me personally, I'm an emotional girly pop. I'm a feeler. So I leaned a lot heavier into relationships, family, friends, etc., and became much more social with that extra brain space and felt so much more connected to people in my life due to that brain space. That's what I used it for. Maybe there's other things you can use it for, I also focus a lot on my activism and things like that. It really does take up a lot of your mind. It really does. I was amazed at all the stuff I could do last year at once because I had this extra brain space. I took the inhibitors and they worked almost too well, okay? I lost my entire appetite in about 15 kilograms in a scarily fast time. Simultaneously, I experienced a resurgence of crippling anxiety, a known side effect of Wegovy, leaving me foggy-headed, sweating profusely, sleepless, and unable to think rationally or be fully present with my tiny children. Yeah, that's not good. You could have tried to do a smaller dose. You could have tried to, there probably were other steps that could have been taken, but let's see what she says. It was truly miserable for me and my partner, who found it heartbreaking to see his formerly happy and engaged wife spiral back into the postnatal obsessive compulsive disorder we had both worked so hard to help me recover from after our first son's birth. You have to focus on hormonal health. The fact that this is postnatal, it tells me that it was hormonal, and you have to consider, I'm going to say it, you got to consider your thyroid. People don't. Kills me. You have to consider hormone health. You need to consider it even before getting on this medication, because that's hormonal. I wish it was more normalized for women to have more awareness of their bodies and stuff, rather than it being a forbidden topic in a lot of ways. And then I wish that institutions did cater to women's bodies better, because it's a huge institutional issue. I'm going to say it. It just is. It's a big problem. It should be known. Hey, I might be having thyroid issues, or there might be something going on, or maybe something's off balance, and it sounds like she's not even considering it. And especially when we're considering postnatal, even your period, menopause, all of it, especially with so much fluctuation in general, it's it needs to be considered. It needs to. It also does for men too. But for men, it's just simpler. It's more so, you're a man and you're obese and you're not used to having that much estrogen. Your body can't handle it. And when you're losing weight, it's very hard for you to handle the fluctuations as a man. It's not natural for it to be as fluctuating as it is in a woman's body. So mood issues galore for men, in my opinion. Although a lot of times men can just handle it with stoicism or whatever. That wasn't me. I'm an emotional girly pop. It was rough. I'll be honest. It was real rough. And it was, in some ways, I think it was worse because I'm male. Because it's just, like I said, I mean, maybe for a lot of you girls or for a lot of women, I'll say women, it'd be normal for you to have like a shift in your sexual taste. For me, it was not. And it was really disturbing, and it still is to me to this day. It disturbs me. You know, I don't have that type of, I don't have a woman's brain. So it's like I can't sit here and like be like everything's squishy and whatever. Like no. No. To me, that was so disturbing. It still is disturbing to me. So, yeah. It's weird. But it does happen to men too. But it's kind of like that. It's a slightly different conversation. But I think with women, it's just so, I don't know. Like, I think it kind of comes from that whole thing of like, you can't talk about your period or whatever. It's like it becomes taboo. It's like because of that, then everything becomes taboo. That's just my opinion. You guys can let me know your thoughts on it. I'd love to hear them. Please let me know your thoughts because I need to know why it's not considered. And also, we need to talk about why it's not institutionally considered because that's wild to me. Okay, let's continue here. The choice, for the first time in my life, the choice between being thin and mentally unwell or overweight and mostly contented presented itself. There was only one viable answer. I needed to be well for my children, and if that meant mostly tolerating body dissatisfaction, then better the devil you know, right? I can understand why she would make that decision, but I think that she's uneducated. I think that she doesn't know about different options. She doesn't know about different problems she could be having, and it's very unfortunate, and it can be deadly. And this is where institutions are flopping. This is where this is a systemic issue because she should be aware of other issues that it could be. And she's not. It's a problem. The online company that had prescribed me the drugs with an eerie lack of checks and balances was stumped when I reported my side effects and told me to stop taking them. By this point, I was so desperate to feel like myself again that the 3 kilograms I regained pretty quickly simply by eating more than nothing at all barely registered. But as I felt more and more like myself, a new, almost grief-like feeling settled in the pit of my stomach. I felt defeated. The life raft on which I had pinned all of my hopes of saving myself from a life of body hatred had arrived, and I had fallen spectacularly off it. It confirmed that the chronic lack of self-esteem I knew was likely the underlying cause of my mental health issues wasn't ever going to be magically solved, and that I would probably never be free of a life spent oscillating wildly between two extremes, happy or thin. So I think that this is a false dichotomy, but some of this is probably because she needs to be told there is another way. She needs to be told, dare I say, she needs to understand a more similar path to what I took. She needs to look at her hormone levels. She needs to make certain lifestyle shifts and changes. She needs to take it slowly. And people don't want to hear that when they're toxically ritualistic. When you say the S word, alarm bells ring, people get pissed. It turns into a whole host of things. But she needs to go slow. She doesn't want to. You may be wondering where all this leaves me. Like many others, I suspect it's extremely complicated. Do I, an obese person, wish I could tolerate the things better and lose a phenomenal amount of weight like seemingly everyone else has? Yes. Do I feel foolish for believing this one thing might solve all my problems? Absolutely. But there's another niggling sense to a feeling that I have been lied to, tricked into hoping an alternative world could exist in which people were more accepting of each other's bodies. I felt foolish for not recognizing that what I will now refer to as fat washing had only served one purpose: to make companies more money. Well, of course. I feel disappointed that the same people who told me I was beautiful despite my size having jumped at the first chance to be thin. And it makes me question their past sincerity. As Light says, when a creator builds a platform based on inclusivity and body acceptance, their followers see that as a safe space. When that same creator's body visibly changes, it can feel like a betrayal. I don't know about that narrative. I think there's just a lot of toxic ritualistic projection going on within those types of dynamics. So it's not necessarily savory or sweet or safe. It's a little darker to me. This has made me question my own integrity. I was out there spreading the good word of self-acceptance too. Did I really believe what I was saying? I certainly wanted it to be true and hoped it would be for others, and maybe that's the same thing. But I know if I had the opportunity to be thin, even if it meant upsetting others, I'd say yes every single time because I'm so bone-achingly tired of the feeling of not enoughness or too muchness that has lingered since I was a girl. You have to be willing to let it go though, because a lot of times people like to torture themselves with these things. You know what to do. It's a moderate caloric deficit. And you have to work through the emotions and you have to get out of the toxic ritualistic. She's very much in it and it's not going to ever work. Nothing will work. Because some of it, I think, is psychological. She has no other coping mechanisms than to obsess over this. Okay. I think it's Siobhan Murphy, a plus-size influencer who's at Intercurve Social's focus on fashion and interiors, knows this predicament well. She was so nervous to share her use of Mounjaro, a GLP-1 inhibitor, because she's always been a loud and proud advocate for plus-size women. I worried people might feel let down or think I'd change sides, she says. But this wasn't about how I looked. I've always loved my body. It was about how I felt in it. My back kept bothering me, my knees were aching, my skin was dull, my eyes puffy. I made the decision to prioritize my health, and I'm glad I did. Oh, of course. I absolutely think you should. This is just a no-brainer. Despite her apprehension, Murphy's followers have been incredibly kind and understanding. I think they were just happy I was transparent. There's such secrecy around this topic. I agree. I think it's good to be honest. In an online environment, a lack of trust can quickly morph into something more sinister, encouraging people to look at everyone and wonder if they're on it too, in a weird cat and mouse game that breathes life into an old habit of commenting on women's bodies that as a society we fought to move on from. And as someone who's been around the block when it comes to weight gain and loss, body dysmorphia, and the rest, I can tell you nothing makes me feel worse. Nothing makes you feel worse about yourself than scrutinizing the appearance of others. I don't know if that's true. I think it's just, it comes from like this comparison aspect within the toxic ritualistic, which it is toxic, I'm not gonna lie. It does have toxic roots. Obviously, if somebody's just kind of lightly speculating, it's different. But if somebody's like really upset about it or like really internalizing it emotionally, it's toxic. It is. It's toxically ritualistic. As I scroll Instagram, seeing Shrink and Grow Summer in full bloom, I can't help but pine for what could have been. A smaller body and what I assume would be an easier existence than one spent feeling the need to justify and defend myself all the time. But I find reasons to be hopeful when I see new body positivity pioneers pushing back against this fresh era of fat phobia. Women such as Lena Dunham, Meg Stalter, CMAT, and Lola Young, who are all having their moment in the sun without feeling the need to shrink in order to do so. Murphy says that she sees the community at a crossroads. A new wave of medical intervention is changing the conversation, and it has raised many questions about what body positivity truly means. For me, it was never just about size. It's about acceptance and kindness towards yourself and others. Whether you stay the same size, gain weight, or lose it, the core message should remain the same. Your worth isn't defined by your body. I feel like kindness to yourself and others is probably a good place to be, you know? I don't know about acceptance because I don't think obesity should be accepted. I'm going to just keep saying it. You know, I don't, it's not good. So it shouldn't be accepted. So I would say no. But kindness, yes, absolutely. You know, is it good to discourage people from comparing themselves to other people? Yes, absolutely. You know, it's not a competition. All that stuff, it needs to go. Absolutely. The obsession needs to go. Absolutely. I am pretty committed to losing some weight. Not a lot, but some, more than anything because I want to feel better in my body. My pursuit of being smaller is not motivated by a belief that being big and being beautiful are mutually exclusive. Maybe it will always be something I can appreciate as being true for others rather than myself, but in the meantime, I'll do all I can to embed in my children's own programming the notion that their weight really is the least interesting thing about them. I don't think that that's the worst thing to teach a child, you know. I think it should never be put on a pedestal, but I still think she needs to get over her toxic ritualistic issues for the sake of her and her children, because they're still going to look at what she's doing, how she's thinking about it and all that stuff. Kids pick up on it. It's not good. So just please leave the toxic ritualistic behind. Like, you can get out. You can leave it. Like, I just wish that that was more known, and I'm going to do my damned best in the years to come, you know? You don't have to keep thinking like this. You just don't. But she's pretty bad. But it's like, there's hope there, or there's a desire there. And that's what kills me. Like, that's what I made this channel for. Is for people that have a hope and have a desire. But there are certain things that she'd have to let go of. You know, there's a lot of things she'd have to let go of. And I don't know if she's willing to. But if she wanted to let go of a lot of those mental things, then there is a path ahead. And there is hope. But it's going to be slow. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it being slow. If there's one thing I've learned from having kids, it's that the best way to teach them something is to embody it. Exactly. Not that I'm lecturing her about kids. I'm just saying, I completely agree. I've never felt a stronger urge to step away from the scroll hole and build a more solid self-esteem from the inside out. Maybe I'll never learn to love my body fully, but that doesn't mean I'll give up trying. Oh my goodness, I feel so bad for her. She's so toxically ritualistic. You can see the ambivalence within BING in this article very well. There's just so much there. And I honestly, I see this and I'm just like, there are so many failures going on. There's so much stuff going on. And it has to change. You know, it really makes me remember again why I'm doing this. You know? But it's just the beginning, you know. It is what it is. So, anyways, you guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know this is kind of crazy. If you're disappointed in me being a bug killer, I'm sorry. I'm a bug killer. I am. I admire you guys. I admire the ones. I don't judge. If somebody's like, I'm going to release it, I don't judge you. But it isn't me. It's not me. I'm not advocating for being a bug killer. I don't know. I just am one. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. You guys should not be surprised. You know my personality enough by now. You should not be surprised. But I'm sorry if that was a revelation and if that was a disappointing thing. But hopefully we can still, we can still continue what we got going on. But anyways, you guys, I will talk to you guys later. Have a good one. And let's change the world, Let's make this not a thing. I feel bad, honestly. A lot of times I feel bad at this point. I'll talk to you guys later.